The stars shimmered like shards of glass scattered across a velvet expanse as Captain Elara Stroud peered through the observation window of the USS Valor. The sleek vessel glided silently through the cosmic sea, its hull aglow with the soft blue light of the navigational displays. Yet, amidst the tranquility of deep space, an unsettling sensation gnawed at her. Something was coming. "Captain, incoming transmission!" Lieutenant Marcus Hale's voice broke through the quiet, urgency lacing his tone. He sat at the comm station, his brow furrowed as he processed the incoming data. "It's garbled, but the source is a few light years away." Elara straightened, her heart quickening. "Put it through, Marcus." She turned to Dr. Iris Vaughn, the ship's xenobiologist, who was cataloging alien flora samples at the back of the lab. Iris looked up, curiosity flickering in her eyes. The transmission crackled to life, filled with static. "Must prepare, they're coming." The voice was frantic, filled with terror. Elara exchanged a glance with Marcus, his fingers hovering over the controls, eyes wide. "Can you clean it up?" "I'll try," he replied, brow knitted in concentration. The static pulsed like a heartbeat, a rhythm that made Elara's skin crawl. As Marcus worked, she turned to Iris. "What do you think?" Iris shook her head, her brow furrowing. "Could be a warning from another civilization." "But who? And what are they warning us about?" "Could be a joke," Marcus interjected, the tension in his voice a stark contrast to his attempt at levity. "Maybe a prank from the Andromeda sector." Elara shot him a look. "This isn't the time, Marcus. If it's a warning, we need to take it seriously." The transmission cleared slightly, revealing fragmented words. "Intelligent life, hostile, must alert Earth." "Hostile?" Iris whispered, her eyes wide. "That changes everything," Marcus cut in. "If it's a real threat, we need to report back to command." Elara nodded, already weighing her options. "We can't just abandon our mission. We need to investigate the source of this transmission. We can't risk sending everyone into a panic until we know what we're dealing with." "Are you sure that's wise?" Marcus pressed, his concern palpable. "What if it's a trap?" "Exactly why we need to go," Elara replied, steeling herself. "We have to be prepared for anything." With a determined nod, she shifted into action. "Set a course for the source of the transmission. Full speed." As the USS Valor surged forward, the crew felt the shift in energy, a current of anticipation and anxiety swirling in the small confines of their ship. Elara felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The crew depended on her judgment, and the stakes had never felt higher. "Captain," Iris said suddenly, her voice cutting through the tension. "What if we're not just dealing with a hostile alien race, but something far worse? What if they've already found Earth?" Elara hesitated, the implication hanging heavy in the air. "Then we'll need to warn them before it's too late." The tension thickened as the ship barreled through the dark void, the stars stretching into lines of light. The impending sense of danger loomed larger with every pulse of the engines. Elara steeled herself, her resolve hardening like iron. She could not fail them, not now. As they approached the coordinates of the transmission, an ominous darkness flickered on the sensors. "Captain, I'm reading an anomaly ahead. It's massive, bigger than anything we've encountered before." Marcus's voice was steady, but the gravity of his words sent a shiver down Elara's spine. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," she ordered, her pulse racing. "I want full diagnostics on that anomaly. We need to know what we're up against." With every passing second, the weight of the unknown settled around them, an echo of the warning that had pulled them from their path. The crew gathered around the control panel, tension coiling like a spring ready to snap. The stars seemed to blink in warning as the USS Valor hurtled toward the darkness, and Elara knew, with chilling certainty, that humanity's fate hung in the balance. The USS Valor plunged deeper into the unknown, the tension aboard palpable as the ship navigated through the thick, swirling darkness. Elara Stroud paced the command deck, her mind racing with possibilities, each one more alarming than the last. "Captain, we're nearing the anomaly," Marcus Hale announced, his voice steady despite the escalating intensity. Sensors are struggling to get a clear reading. It's almost as if something is interfering with our systems. Elara stopped, her heart quickening. What do you mean interfering? Electromagnetic fluctuations. It's like a storm, but different, he explained, his eyes glued to the monitor's flashing erratic data. It could be a natural phenomenon or it could be something artificial. Iris Vaughn interjected, her voice edged with concern as she examined the readings beside Marcus. If it's a weapon or a defense mechanism, we need to proceed with caution. Caution has never been humanity's strong suit, Elara replied, forcing a grin that didn't reach her eyes. But you're right, we have to be prepared for anything. The ship hummed as it drew closer to the anomaly, the dull thrum vibrating through the metal framework. The dark void outside seemed to pulse with life, shadows shifting just beyond the vessel's reach. Elara felt the weight of their mission pressing down on her like the oppressive darkness surrounding them. Bring the ship to a halt, she commanded, her tone leaving no room for debate. Let's get a closer look. Iris, can you focus the sensors on that disturbance? Iris nodded, fingers flying across the console. I'll try to isolate the interference. The atmosphere in the command center thickened with anticipation, the crew sharing wary glances. Suddenly, a low rumble resonated through the ship, rattling the bulkheads. Alarms blared, red lights flashing in warning. Captain? Marcus shouted, panic creeping into his voice. The anomaly it's changing. Elara gripped the edge of her command chair, her heart racing. What's happening? Massive gravitational fluctuations, Marcus replied, eyes wide with disbelief. It's expanding, no, contracting, at an alarming rate. Brace for impact, Elara yelled, instinctively gripping the console. The crew scrambled to secure themselves, the ship lurching violently as the anomaly shifted. A blinding light burst forth from the center of the disturbance, illuminating the bridge in an ethereal glow. Elara squinted against the brilliance, the overwhelming brightness consuming the view screen. What is that? Iris gasped, shielding her eyes. It's like a gateway. Shields up. Marcus, divert all power to the engines, Elara ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. She could feel the weight of their predicament settling on her shoulders, a realization dawning that they might be facing an encounter beyond anything humanity had ever prepared for. I can't. The systems are fluctuating too rapidly, Marcus shouted back, frustration bleeding into his words. The light intensified, flooding the ship's interior with warmth. Suddenly, the brightness receded, revealing a swirling mass of colors that defied description, vibrant tendrils reaching outward like the fingers of a giant cosmic hand. Is that life? Iris murmured, entranced despite the danger. I don't know, but we can't just sit here. Elara's instincts screamed at her. We need to get out of here. Before she could finish her command, the ship lurched again, throwing everyone to the floor. Elara's head collided with the console, stars exploding in her vision. A cold dread settled in her stomach as she struggled to rise. Captain? Marcus's voice broke through the haze, frantic. The anomaly is pulling us in. We're losing control. Elara's heart raced as she fought against the disorientation. Deploy thrusters. Get us out of here. As the crew struggled to regain their footing, the ship shuddered violently, the hull creaking under the immense gravitational strain. Elara focused, channeling her determination into action. If humanity was to survive this encounter, they needed to adapt, to fight back against the unknown. Now! She shouted, forcing herself upright. We will not be taken without a fight. As the USS Valor trembled under the anomaly's grip, Elara felt the stakes rise higher than ever. The fate of Earth, and perhaps all of humanity, hung in the balance. They would face whatever lay ahead, together, or not at all. In that moment, Elara Stroud resolved to uncover the secrets hidden in the shadows, even if it meant risking everything they held dear. The path ahead was uncertain, but they would not back down. Not now, not ever. Elara's vision cleared as she fought to regain her footing on the shaking bridge of the USS Valor. The ship lurched violently, the crew struggling to maintain their grip on the consoles while the gravitational forces threatened to tear them apart. Sweat trickled down her brow, mingling with the tension suffocating the air around them. "Captain, we're losing power in the aft thrusters!" Marcus shouted, urgency lacing his voice. "We can't break free of the anomaly's pull. Redirect power from the forward thrusters!" Alara barked, gripping the console tightly to steady herself. "We'll need every ounce of thrust we can get." As Marcus frantically adjusted the controls, Alara felt a pang of helplessness grip her. They were faced with an enemy beyond comprehension, a force that could unravel everything they knew. And yet she could not allow doubt to seep into her resolve. "Captain, look!" Iris called, pointing at the viewscreen. The swirling mass of colors inside the anomaly pulsed with a life of its own, each shift reflecting the crew's rising panic. Bright tendrils danced toward the ship, vibrant blues and greens coiling like serpents around the hull. "Stay focused, everyone!" Alara shouted, her heart racing as the tendrils closed in. "We can't let it overwhelm us." "Easier said than done," Marcus muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. "What's it doing?" "It feels like it's probing us." "Then we'll probe it right back," Alara decided, a spark igniting in her chest. "Open a channel to the anomaly. Let's see if it can communicate." Iris raised an eyebrow. "You want to talk to it? How do you propose we do that?" "Let's use the ship's EM pulse generators. We can create a signal that mimics its patterns. If it's sentient, maybe it'll respond," Alara suggested, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "You think it'll work?" Marcus questioned, skepticism etched on his face. "Only one way to find out," she replied, a steely determination hardening her voice. "Make it happen." As Iris began calibrating the generators, Alara felt the ship shudder again, the colors outside swirling with increased intensity. A wave of energy washed over the bridge, a visceral reminder of the anomaly's power. "EM pulse in 3, 2. Iris counted down, her fingers poised over the controls. 1. "Sending now." The ship hummed as the pulse resonated outward, a blip of frequency cutting through the chaos. For a heartbeat, silence enveloped them, the colors outside dimming momentarily. Then, as if responding to their call, the anomaly pulsed back, a powerful wave radiating toward the Valor. The energy crackled, and the bridge lights flickered, plunging them into near darkness. "Status report!" Alara yelled, her voice barely audible over the roar of the ship's systems struggling to cope. "Energy levels are stabilizing," Marcus replied, fingers dancing over the console. "But the anomaly is... it's responding," Iris interrupted, eyes wide with awe. The tendrils outside coalesced into intricate shapes, swirling in patterns that seemed to echo the ship's pulse. Alara's breath hitched. Was it sentient? Did it understand them? "Prepare to receive data," she commanded, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and dread. "Let's see what it has to say." As the ship braced itself, the glowing shapes morphed into a massive form, a sentient being materializing from the anomaly. It loomed large on the view screen, pulsating with vibrant energy. Alara's mind raced, the implications flooding her thoughts. "Captain, it's beautiful," Marcus breathed, a look of wonder crossing his face. "Yes," Alara agreed, her pulse quickening. "But what does it want?" Before she could voice her concerns, the ship shuddered again, the anomaly's energy rippling through the Valor. The entity seemed to draw closer, its essence intertwining with their own ship's systems, testing their defenses. "Hold steady," Alara commanded, her voice steady. "We need to show it we come in peace." Suddenly, a surge of power flooded through the ship, the systems sparking and sputtering. Alarms blared, and Alara's heart sank. They were losing control once again. "Status!" she shouted, panic creeping into her tone. "I can't maintain the link!" Iris yelled, sweat soaking her brow. "It's too powerful! Redirect all available energy to stabilizing the shields," Alara ordered, desperate to regain control. But the ship trembled, the anomaly's force building to a crescendo. As chaos erupted around them, Alara's resolve hardened. They would not back down. Humanity had faced greater odds before, and they would do so again. "Prepare for impact!" she shouted as the ship rocked violently, the gravitational forces threatening to tear them apart once more. In that moment, Alara understood they were standing on the brink of something monumental. And whether it would be their salvation or their doom rested on their next decision. The stakes had never been higher, and the tides of fate were about to crash down. The USS Valor shuddered violently as the anomaly unleashed its energy, sending a shockwave that rattled the entire vessel. Alara gripped the console, teeth clenched as alarms blared around her. "Status report!" she shouted, her voice barely rising above the cacophony. "I'm trying to stabilize the shields," Marcus yelled, fingers flying across his controls. "But the anomaly's energy is too much," Iris interjected, panic creeping into her voice. "It's overwhelming the systems. We need to get a hold of yourselves," Alara snapped, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "We've faced worse than this." She inhaled deeply, forcing herself to stay calm. "I need you both focused. We can't let fear take control." Just then, the ship lurched again, and the lights flickered ominously. The anomaly's presence loomed larger on the view screen, its colors swirling like a cosmic storm, pulsing in rhythm with their heartbeat. In that moment, Alara felt something she hadn't expected, a flicker of connection, as if the anomaly could sense their struggle, their fear. "We can't just wait for it to consume us," Marcus said, a tremor in his voice. "What do you propose we do? Throw a welcome party?" "No," Alara replied, determination hardening her resolve. "We need to prove we're not a threat. We need to communicate." "Communicate? With what? A mindless void?" Marcus shot back, skepticism etched across his face. "It's not mindless," Alara insisted, her thoughts racing. "If it reacts to our signals, it might understand us. We can't assume it's hostile without trying." "I'll adjust the EM pulse generators again," Iris said, her voice steadier now. "We'll modify our signal to match its energy patterns." Alara nodded, her heart pounding as she watched Iris work, fingers deftly adjusting the controls. "Be quick about it. We don't have much time." With a final flick of her wrist, Iris activated the modified pulse, and the ship hummed with energy. The anomaly responded, tendrils of vibrant light reaching toward them, as if curious. Alara held her breath, feeling the tension in the air tighten. "Here it comes!" Marcus warned, eyes wide as he focused on the view screen. The pulsing light coalesced into shapes, transforming into intricate patterns that danced before them. For a moment, Alara felt as though the ship and the anomaly were connected, two sentient beings sharing an unspoken language. "Can you feel that?" Iris whispered, awe shining in her eyes. "Yes," Alara replied, her heart racing. "It's responding to our signal. We need to keep the connection alive." "Adjusting frequency," Iris announced, her fingers flying across the console again. "We're syncing with it now." The lights in the bridge brightened momentarily before dimming again, and the ship groaned in protest. "The energy levels are fluctuating," Marcus exclaimed. "It won't hold for long." Alara turned to face them both, her resolve unyielding. "We need to focus on the signal. We can't give up now. This is our chance to make contact." As the anomaly pulsed once more, the ship trembled, and a surge of energy rippled through the Valor. The view screen displayed an explosion of colors, radiant blues and ethereal greens entwined, forming symbols that seemed to communicate intent. "What is it saying?" Marcus asked, mesmerized. "I don't know," Alara admitted, her heart pounding as she studied the patterns. "But it feels hopeful." "Can you sense its emotions?" Iris queried, her brow furrowing in concentration. "Not just emotions. It's—" Alara hesitated, trying to articulate the sensation. "It's reaching out. It wants to connect." As she spoke, the symbols on the view screen intensified, swirling faster. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring again as systems began to overload. "We can't hold it!" Marcus cried, struggling against the controls. "Divert all remaining power to the shields," Elara ordered, her voice rising above the chaos. "We have to protect the ship." Just then, the anomaly surged toward them, engulfing the Valor in a radiant embrace of light. Elara felt the ship shudder, the energy enveloping them like a warm tide. In that moment, a flood of understanding coursed through her mind, images, emotions, and echoes of a consciousness that transcended anything she had ever known. "It's inviting us," she breathed, astonishment flooding her veins. Before she could grasp the significance of that invitation, the lights flickered and dimmed one last time. The anomaly's energy surged, and Elara braced herself as the world around her faded into blinding light. As darkness enveloped them, one thought anchored her spirit: humanity had a chance to reach beyond the stars, to forge a bond with something greater. And in that unity lay the key to their survival, or their doom.